very good morning to Vice Chancellor Sir, Pro VC Sir, senior faculty members and dear students. In last TGCR, in part 1, we covered about the normal chest radiograph. In part 1, we covered about the normal chest radiograph. We assessed the quality of a chest radiograph and various radiographic views and all. And today in part 2, we'll start by understanding the normal locations of the common lines and tubes. Then we'll study the patterns of cardiac chamber enlargement. Then we'll see how to approach systematically for going to a diagnosis on a chest radiograph. Then we'll discuss about some common pathologies in collaboration with the departments of general medicine and respiratory medicine. So to start the presentation, I would like to call Dr. Sarkar.
So we'll start off with the common lines and tubes that we normally see on a chest radiograph and their correct placement. So to start off, the nasogastric tube. So the correct position for the nasogastric tube is that it should be positioned at least 10 centimeters caudal to the location of the gastroesophageal junction, that is below the left hemidiaphragm. So chest X-rays are usually used to determine the placement of the nasogastric tube if aspiration of gastric fluid is unsuccessful. Moving on to the endotracheal tube. So the endotracheal tube, the correct position of the endotracheal tube is the tip should be approximately 5 centimeters plus or minus 2 centimeters above the carina. This is for adults. In children, the trachea is shorter and the optimum position of the tip for the endotracheal tube is 1.5 centimeters above the level of the carina. So most ET tubes have an inflatable cup which forms a seal against the trachea. This is typically not visualized on a radiograph. So internal jugular vein catheter, the correct position for an internal jugular vein catheter is that the tip should be over the anatomical location of the SVC, approximately 1.5 centimeters above the level of the carina. Subclavian vein catheter. So the catheter passes below the subclavian. So the catheter passes below the level of the clavicle and the tip is projected over the anatomical location of the SVC, approximately 1 centimeters above the level of the carina. And the PICC line is a peripherally inserted central catheter, which is correctly located with its tip at the cavo-atrial junction, approximately at the height of 2 vertebral bodies below the level of the carina.
But in case of the central venous catheter, especially if it has been introduced through the subclavian approach, more important is to see if we have caused any pneumothorax. Position, yes, it will tell. More important is the pneumothorax.
Moving on to the chest drain of the intercostal drainage tube. So the placement of the intercostal drainage tube is dependent on the type of pathology that is present. If for the treatment of a pneumothorax, the tip is aimed towards the anterosuperior surface, anterosuperior angle towards the chest wall, and for the treatment of a pleural effusion, it is oriented towards the posterior inferior, or for a hemothorax for that matter. Moving on to the assessment of cardiac chamber enlargement on chest diagram, we begin with the left atrial enlargement. So left atrial enlargement typically presents as a double density, or as what we call a double density sign. There is there's a double border on the right side. This is the border of the right atrium. This is the border of the enlarged left atrium, and there is also splaying of the carina. So these features are consistent with left atrial enlargement. Right atrial enlargement, left ventricular enlargement is primarily we see hypertrophy that causes rounding of the apex, and with the dilatation, the apex shifts downwards and laterally. The PA view, we can see a large convex left ventricle compressing the left hemidiaphragm and a double atrial shadow as well, suggesting that there is left atrial enlargement as well. Right atrial enlargement is typically we assess it by assessing the convexity of the right atrial border. The convexity of the right atrial border should be approximately 5.5 centimeters from, it should be not more than 5.5 centimeters from the midline. If it crosses that, that is a case of right atrial enlargement.
So I'll be discussing about the systematic review and recognition of patterns in pathology. So last time we have discussed that for while reporting a chest radiograph, we usually follow a outside to inside approach. Like first we'll see the soft tissue, then we move towards the bony cage and the bones and the visualized bones, like the clavicle or the part or the scapula and the visualized vertebrae. Then we'll see the lung parenchyma. We'll see the costophrenic angle, dome of diaphragm, and then we'll come in midline, we'll see the trachea, mediastinum, and the heart shape. Now, today we'll discuss about that whenever we are supposed to report a chest radiograph, so there are two kind of pathologies which we came across. One is the alveolar opacities and the other one is the interstitial disease. Now, this yellow demarcated thing is the alveoli. Alveoli are the cluster of alveolar sacs, and these are the alveolar ducts. These are usually filled with the air. But if it is, these are usually filled with air and appears as radiolucent. But if it is filled with transudate, exudate, either with the blood, lipoproteinaceous content or cancer cells, then it will appear as radio-opaque. In this schematic diagram, in the red shadow, what we can appreciate is the interstitium. Interstitium is anything between the alveoli, which is usually found by the connective tissue, lymphatics, and veins. These are the chest. This is a chest radiograph, and what we can appreciate is ill-defined homogeneous opacity with air bronchogram in the right upper lobe, which is delineated by the right horizontal fissure. So this is likely a airspace opacities. So these are the descriptors which we use while reporting a airspace opacities. In this chest radiograph, we can appreciate multiple linear and reticular opacities in the right lung parenchyma, which is suggestive of an interstitial disease. This interstitial disease can be of linear reticulonodular or can be of honeycombing pattern. So these are the two chest radiographs. Anyone would like to take up that which one is alveolar space opacities and which one is interstitial? Okay. So in this we can appreciate multiple fluffy ill-defined opacities in left perihilar areas and in right upper and the lower zones, which is suggestive of the airspace opacities. Whereas in this, we can see multiple linear or reticular opacities and subtle cyst-like shadows are also seen, which is suggestive of honeycombing. So this is interstitial opacities. The various causes of alveolar shadows are pulmonary edema, pneumonia, haline membrane disease, pulmonary hemorrhage, alveolar cell carcinoma, and alveolar proteinosis. The various causes of diffuse interstitial shadowing are viral or bacterial infections like pneumonia, left heart failure, lymphangitic carcinomatosis, some drugs like amiodarone or busulfan, and sarcoidosis and amyloidosis. Now there is always a dilemma whenever we see a two chest radiograph that whether the lesion is parenchymal, extraparenchymal or mediastinal. So these are the two chest radiographs. First see this. In this what we can appreciate is a well-defined homogeneous opacity with broad base towards the mediastinum, which is forming obtuse angle with the mediastinum. See this angle forming obtuse angle with the mediastinum and has a clear interface with the lung parenchyma. So this is likely to be a mediastinal lesion. Whereas in this chest radiograph, we can appreciate a lobulated homogeneous opacity with its epicenter in the right middle and lower zone and forming the acute angle with the mediastinum and have an ill-defined lateral margin. So this is likely to be in the parenchymal lesion. Now, when we are discussing about pattern approach, whenever see an increased density, that the opacity can either consolidation, interstitial opacity, nodule or mass or atelectasis. If the lesion is less than 3 cm, we denote it as nodule, and if it is more than 3 cm, we denote it as mass. This is a case of 26-year-old women admitted in ICU with complaints of fever, cough and shortness of breath since 1 week. Now anyone? So we can see extensive airspace opacities in the bilateral hemithorax with this air bronchogram sign. So now what is air bronchogram? The air bronchogram occurs when the endobronchial air is visible against a black background. So this is the endobronchial air which is visible against a dense background. It is usually seen in consolidation, edema, Halley's membrane disease, lymphoma, alveolar cell carcinoma, and acute adult respiratory distress syndrome. Now, this is a chest radiograph, a 10-day-old neonate with history of 3 days of respiratory distress, poor feeding, and intermittent fever. Anyone? At least describe it, that what you can appreciate. Okay, so here what we can appreciate is well-defined homogeneous opacity with air bronchogram sign in the right upper lobe, which is demarcated by the right horizontal fissure. So this is suggestive of right upper lobe consolidation. Here there are no signs of volume loss and trachea is in central. Now consolidation is the result of replacement of air in the alveoli by transudate pus, blood cells or other substances. The key findings are we can appreciate well-defined homogeneous opacities obscuring the vessels with air bronchogram signs, and the most important thing is there is no sign of volume loss. Now this is a 4-year-old child presented with chest pain, shortness of breath and cough since 10 days. Anyone? What you can appreciate? So in this we can appreciate a well-defined homogeneous opacity, but with no air bronchogram signs, and there is displacement, superior displacement of right horizontal fissure. So this is suggestive of right upper lobe collapse. Now in collapse, what are the key findings is sharply ill-defined opacity obscuring vessels without air bronchogram, and there are signs of volume loss. That is displacement of diaphragm, fissures, hyla and mediastinum. Now these are the two chest radiographs. So we have to see that which is consolidation and which is collapse. The most common dilemma which we usually undergo while reporting a chest radiograph. So in this chest radiograph, we can appreciate a homogeneous opacity in the left lower zone with air bronchogram sign. So this is a suggestive of consolidation. In this chest radiograph, we can appreciate homogeneous opacity obscuring almost whole of the left hemithorax. And what we can else we can appreciate in this chest radiograph is trachea is shifted towards the left side, and the heart and the mediastinum is also shifted towards the left side, with the overinflation of the compensatory overinflation of the left lung. This is suggestive of the left lung collapse. We can also cannot appreciate the left main bronchus. So this is suggestive of left bronchus cutoff sign. A 38-year-old male presented with fever and breathlessness since 1 month. So in this chest radiograph, we can appreciate a homogeneous opacity which is obscuring right costophrenic angle, right hemidiaphragm and right heart border with concave upward sloping appearance suggestive of meniscus sign. So this is suggestive of right pleural effusion. Now this is the normal costophrenic angle, and in this the right side is normal, and in left we can appreciate the costophrenic angle is blunt. So whenever we see that the costophrenic angle is blunt, there are two differential, either it can be a pleural effusion or it can be pleural thickening. Now with large pleural effusion, we can appreciate the mediastinal shift away from the effusion, and in the lateral frames, we can identify a smaller amount of fluid as the costophrenic angle and deepest posteriorly. Now in this chest radiograph, anyone, what we can appreciate? Okay. So there is slight elevation of the left hemidiaphragm, and the distance between the left hemidiaphragm and the stomach bubble is increased. And in this, at least pleural effusion we can appreciate. So in the left side we can appreciate homogeneous opacity obscuring left CP angle and this meniscus sign suggestive of left pleural effusion. But the important thing is we can see that the peak of the right dome of diaphragm is shifted slightly laterally. So these two findings, like the shifting of the peak of diaphragm laterally and the increase in the distance between the hemidiaphragm and the stomach bubble on the left side, suggestive of a subpulmonic effusion. Now this is the case, a 38-year-old female came to the respiratory department with complaints of chest pain, which is on and off since 2 weeks. So what we can appreciate, a well-defined homogeneous opacity with smooth margin with no calcification is seen in the right upper zone and with no other finding in the lung parenchyma. So this is, and the size of the lesion is almost less than 3 centimeters, suggestive of solitary pulmonary nodule. So whenever we see a solitary pulmonary nodule, the basic differentials are, it could be a tuberculoma, hamartoma, it could be a metastatic lesion, it could be a hydrated cyst or arteriovenous malformation. Now this is a 49-year-old male with complaints of dyspnea, fatigue, cough since 2 months. So what we can appreciate is multiple lobulated soft tissue densities in right paratracheal region and in bilateral hilar region, which is suggestive of 1, 2, 3 sign, which is a diagnostic of sarcoidosis. These are the various causes of the hilar enlargement. It could be an infectious cause, it could be a tumor, metastatic cause, and if it is bilateral hilar enlargement, that we can think of sarcoidosis, silicosis, any infection, or it could be a lymphoma. Now this is a 56-year-old male with non-known case of colorectal carcinoma came for follow-up in oncology department and complaints of chest pain and fatigue since 2 months. So in this chest radiograph, we can appreciate multiple rounded homogeneous opacity with smooth margins in random distribution scattered throughout the lung parenchyma with no calcification and no other abnormality in the lung parenchyma, which is suggestive of cannonball metastasis. Now this is a 46-year-old male, known case of COPD and respiratory failure, was admitted in ICU, complaints of sudden excruciating pain and breathlessness. So this is a chest radiograph. What we can appreciate in this chest radiograph is increased translucency along the lateral aspect of bilateral hemithorax with no lung marking, and we can also see the visceral pleura, which is known as the visceral pleural sign. So this is suggestive of a bilateral pneumothorax. A 46-year-old male came to emergency with history of road traffic accident and complaint of chest pain and difficulty in breathing. So in this chest radiograph, anyone? What we can appreciate? So what we can appreciate is the increased lucency along the lateral aspect of left hemithorax with no lung marking and the visceral pleural sign. And here we can also see homogeneous opacity obscuring left CP angle and the air fluid level, which is suggestive of left hydropneumothorax. These are the various signs or the radiological signs which we usually see while reporting a pneumothorax case. This is a 34-year-old male came to emergency department with history of road traffic accident and complaint of chest pain. In this chest radiograph, anyone would like to take up what you can appreciate now? So we can appreciate increased lucency along the left heart border, along the lateral aspect of trachea. So this is suggestive of the pneumomediastin. We can also see subcutaneous or surgical emphysema in the neck region and along the bilateral chest wall. So this is the case of a 40-year-old male came to emergency department with history of obstipation since 4 days and now came with complaint of severe abdominal pain and vomiting. To report this. So this is a chest radiograph which is showing multiple calcifications distributed in the muscle bellies with typical rice grain appearance, which is suggestive of the cysticercosis. Now I would request Dr. Pooja to discuss some common pathologies.
Morning to one and all present here. Today I'll be discussing chest radiographs in some common pathologies. So, 80-year-old male came with complaint of shortness of breath along with drooping of eyelids and hoarseness of voice. He is a chronic smoker. So what would be the probability? 80-year-old male came with complaint of shortness of breath, along with drooping of eyelid, along with hoarseness of voice. He's a chronic smoker. So what do you think will be the probable diagnosis on the basis of the given history and the X-ray? Would anybody like to answer? So, as we can see in this X-ray, we see a opacity which is present on the apex of the lung. It is a mass-like opacity along with presence of erosion of the first and the second rib. This is the first rib, this is the second rib. So, erosions of the rib is present along with the history and a mass is present. It is most likely Pancoast tumor. So what is a Pancoast tumor? Pancoast tumor gets its name from its position, which is apex of the lung. Now case number 2. A 65-year-old male came with complaint of acute shortness of breath with orthopnea and generalized anasarca. What do you think would be the probable diagnosis on the basis of given X-ray and the history? So on the basis of given history and the X-ray, there is presence of ground glass haziness with consolidation and air bronchogram sign with bilateral central and perihilar region. This is an X-ray of a patient having congestive cardiac failure. Case number 3. A 70-year-old female who is admitted with a history of 3 days of acute respiratory failure having fever, dyspnea. She was tachypneic, having respiratory rate of 30 beats per minute with lymphopenia and low oxygen saturation with normal ejection fraction and normal diastolic function. The given X-ray presents multiple fluffy air space opacity seen in bilateral lung fields with diffuse involvement. The CT ratio given is normal. So this X-ray depicts that the patient is having most probable diagnosis of acute respiratory distress syndrome. So now we are going to compare both the X-rays of congestive cardiac failure and acute respiratory distress syndrome. In congestive cardiac failure, we can see the patient might have presence of pleural effusion in which the CP angles will be obscured, along with presence of cardiomegaly, which is depicted by increased CT ratio, whereas in ARDS there is diffuse placement of the opacities, which involves the upper, mid and the lower zones of the lungs. Along with absence of cardiomegaly, there are going to be no pulmonary dysfunction will be present in this patient. So, in congestive cardiac failure, pleural effusion will be present along with cardiomegaly. The CP angles may be obscured and it is located in centrally and in bilateral perihilar region. Whereas in ARDS, pleural effusion is absent along with cardiomegaly. CP angles are clear and there are diffuse opacities which are present. These opacities are fluffy and heterogeneous in nature. Case number 4. A 35-year-old male came with complaint of cough, low-grade fever, night sweats, weight loss and hemoptysis. The X-ray was provided to us and the X-ray was this. What do you think would be the probable diagnosis of this patient? Yes, so this patient is having a diagnosis of miliary TB in which we can see small multiple 2 to 4 mm nodules which are present diffusely on the entire lung field in bilateral lungs. Case number 5, a 80-year-old male came with complaint of shortness of breath along with cough with expectoration. He gives a history of being a former coal miner worker. So what do you think would be the probable diagnosis of this patient? So now we are going to compare the chest X-ray of miliary tuberculosis with silicotuberculosis. So in miliary tuberculosis, we can see the size of the nodules is 2 to 4 mm, whereas in silicotuberculosis, the size of the nodules is large as compared to those present in miliary tuberculosis. If we talk about the density, the nodules in miliary tuberculosis are soft tissue density, whereas in silicotuberculosis, they are more bright, more dense. So, miliary tuberculosis, these are millet-like nodules ranging from 2 to 4 mm. These are soft tissue density, no calcification, not dense. There is random distribution along the zone from the center to the periphery. Effusion and lymphadenopathy can be present, whereas in silicosis, these are larger in size in comparison to the one present in miliary. It is more dense and brighter. These are located more in upper and the mid zone. There is presence of eggshell calcification of lymph nodes, which we cannot appreciate in this X-ray. Clinical history. Yes, sir.
Dr. Parej, you can say, how will you, as a general physician or as a general doctor, will differentiate the hilum, at hilum, whether it is lymph node or the pulmonary vessels?
Basically, in there are few signs over there. Like if it is a pulmonary vessel, in that case, we will have the vessels reaching up to the margin of that opacity. Whereas if it is a lymph node, we will see the opacity and the vessels crossing through it at the center. So that is the hilum convergence and the hilum convergence.
I get confused whether it is lymph nodes or LN lymph
So
nodes or
typically we will see the adjoining vessels. If they are traversing, if they are reaching just up to the periphery, it is pulmonary vessels.
Now I would like to invite Dr. Jensen.
On this chest radiograph, I want opinion of everybody. This was a very interesting radiograph. And the patient came to our hospital with complaints of chest pain, cough, and shortness of breath. We can see an opacity in medial aspect of left, mid, and lower lungs. Now, how many of you think it's located in the lung parenchyma? Please raise your hands.
I think it needs a lateral access.
Sir,
Lateral view also.
Sir, on this, we need a lateral X-ray to
Because
confirm the opacity.
the heart is difficult to whether it's a medius,
But there are few signs on this X-ray that we can localize the opacity.
Look at the angle, right?
Please raise your hands who all think it is in the lung parenchyma. I can't see any hands. Okay, please raise hands who all think it's located in the mediastinum. मतलब कहीं भी नहीं है. Sir. Okay, I will describe the opacity for you. We can see a very well-defined homogeneous opacity in medial aspect of mid and lower zones. We can see the cardiac border. Left cardiac border is not silhouetted. Not silhouetted means we can clearly see the left cardiac border. Okay. This means that this opacity is located posteriorly because heart is located anteriorly. अगर ये anterior होता तो अपने को left cardiac bottom नहीं दिखता. Then we can also see just around the margins of the opacity, the lung parenchyma is absolutely normal. Rest of the lungs are also normal. Then we'll go towards the most important thing, which angles with the mediastinum. We can see this is forming an acute angle with the mediastinum here. And this angle with the descending aorta and aortic knuckle, this angle is also acute, it is less than 90 degrees. So we have come to a conclusion that this opacity is located posteriorly and it's in the lung parenchyma. As soon as we see that this opacity is in the lung parenchyma, we rule out all the mediastinal masses and a very well-defined opacity in lung parenchyma with no calcification, no cavitation. The rest of the lungs are normal. We'll think about. At least I expect this from radiology residents. Hydrated cyst. Hydrated cyst is a lesion in which we'll see a very well-defined opacity. The rest of the lungs will be normal if it is not communicating with the bronchus. If it is communicating with the bronchus, we'll see an air fluid level. CT scan of this patient was done and it was confirmed. Lateral से खाली location का ही वो होता है सर. Lateral view is for anterior या posterior location. अपने को जो पता चल रहा है कि ये posterior.
Generally, into the hydrated cyst, we are very commonly see the calcification. What is the reason that there is no calcification? Anybody can say? Explain it. Yeah. Very good. That is the main point, that into the lung, because of the respiration, there is a continuous movement.
So there is no calcification laid down, and that's why there is no calcification. Otherwise, in all places, like a liver, like a mesentery, everywhere they do find the calcification. Thank you.
CT scan of this patient was done.
I indicate there are three layers.
Yeah.
Endocyst, ectocyst and pericyst. Endocyst and ectocyst are the part of the hydrated. Whereas pericyst is the compressed post tissue, normal tissue. In the lung, there is no pericyst. Calcification occurs in the pericyst only. Whereas everywhere else, like liver or any solid organ, there is always a pericyst, and it is the pericyst which gets calcified.
That's what our book says. The radiology book, it is written so. That's why.
I think that is very contradictory also because we see like in pulmonary tuberculosis we see lot of calcification. So that is also more innovative. So I think the pericyst doesn't take calcification. There is no pericyst, that's why it's not calcified.
CT scan of this patient was done, and the patient had a hydrated cyst in the liver also. So I just wanted to discuss this radiograph. It shows the importance of various signs and approach we have discussed that we can decide on a chest radiograph whether the lesion is located in the mediastinum or it's a pulmonary lesion. Now I'd like to call Dr. Prachi to continue the presentation.
Here we have a case of 35-year-old male who presented with complaints of high-grade fever with chills and rigor since 3 days, left-sided chest pain, breathlessness on exertion, productive cough with yellowish sputum, and a fall in SpO2, 87% at room air since 2 days. He was a non-smoker, non-alcoholic, no known allergies. On investigations, his CBC were neutrophilic leukocytosis and sputum gram stain showed numerous gram-positive lancet-shaped foci. In this X-ray, what do you think the findings are? Here we can see left lower lobe consolidation, and it is an X-ray of lobar pneumonia. In a lobar pneumonia, the most characteristic feature is a homogeneous dense opacity involving a single lung lobe with sharp margins and fissures respecting anatomical boundaries, and air bronchograms are also present. Here we can also see silhouette signs, which is the normal borders of adjacent structures, that is heart and diaphragm, become obscured due to consolidation. Like in right middle lobe pneumonia, obscures the right heart border. Left lower lobe pneumonia obscures the left hemidiaphragm. Here we can see in right middle lobe pneumonia, the right heart border is obscured, and
these are cases where you can see the fissures. You can see, no? You can easily say it is lower, middle lobe or lower lobe. Otherwise, difficult to see.
Some element of collapse also in the previous.
yes, sir. The left hemidiaphragm is pulled up, which shows signs of volume loss.
इसमें gastric bubble भी दिख रहा है और colon भी दिख रहा है.
We can also see bulging fissure sign, which is specific for Streptococcus pneumoniae and Klebsiella pneumoniae, which usually involves the right upper lobe. The second case of a 44-year-old male who presented with complaints of persistent cough since 6 weeks, night sweats also since 6 weeks, loss of weight 6 kgs in 2 months. The patient had poor nutritional status, no comorbidities, and is a current smoker. Here in the X-ray, we can see there is bilateral upper zone involvement, there is bilateral cavitatory lesions, and some satellite lesions around the big cavitary lesions. What do you think is the diagnosis? So this
One
is
of the
an X-ray
commonest
of pulmonary
findings you will
TB.
see in day-to-day. why the tuberculosis involve usually the upper
Because the upper zone has the most ventilation and the TB bacteria are air-loving bacteria and their lymphatic drainage is low and the blood supply is low, so immune response is also low.
Similarly, the apical segment of the lower lobe also is the more common. Like the exophageal upper lobe or the lower lobe का apical segment है, that is better irrigated, so that is also common.
Pulmonary TB involves the apical and posterior segment of upper lobes and the superior segment of lower lobes most commonly because of these.
apical lobe को differentiate कैसे करोगे normal में से? Clavicle के ऊपर होगा नीचे?
सर यहाँ पे most medially apical होगा. यहाँ पे
I think apical lobe is always above the clavicle.
Apical segment of the
Sir, here will be apical and anterior and here
Upper
will be
lobe is
posterior.
apical piece.
Yes, sir. Apical and anterior lobe. Next is the case of a 68-year-old male who presented with complaints of chronic cough with whitish expectoration and progressive shortness of breath since last 5 years. There was no history of TB or asthma. Patient is a chronic and current smoker. On physical examination, his pulse rate was 102 beats per minute and SpO2 88% at room air. Investigation, CBC was normal. On this chest X-ray, we can see the lung fields are bilaterally hyperlucent. The vascular markings are attenuated. There is increased intercostal spaces and flattening of the dome of diaphragm. What do you think is the diagnosis here? So this is the
Classical presentation of the asthma.
The other presentations of COPD on chest radiograph may be an increased AP diameter seen on lateral chest X-ray, tubular heart, bullae formation, which if ruptures leads to pneumonia.
Differentiate कैसे करोगे कि उसने जोर से जब आप एक्सरे लिया टेक्नीशियन है उसने काफी फुल इंस्पिरेशन में
Sir, even if there is full inspiration, the sixth anterior rib reaches the middle of the dome of the diaphragm.
flattening है ना, वो flattening ही होगी dome से. That flattening is going to be maintained. So like एक अपन ने dome का right जो एक medial aspect है और lateral aspect है. और उसके जो बीच है, जैसे मैंने जैसे dome है, medial और lateral लेके एक line draw करी और जो maximum height है वो 1.5 centimeters से कम है. So it means flattening. That is the overall.
कैसे एंटीरियर और पोस्टीरियर को कैसे बताओगे?
So here we can see the posterior ribs first, second.
मुझे भी दिख रही है आप कुछ इसको एक्सप्लेन करें.
Draw the ribs from posterior to
Yes.
Horizontals are the posterior because ये
Yes, sir.
again और जो obliques आ रही हैं
Sir.
they are the anterior ribs.
Yes.
Okay. और seventh rib यदि diaphragm में जाती है then it means too much of
Next case is of a 52-year-old male who presented with complaints of high-grade fever with chills for 2 weeks with productive cough with copious amount of foul-smelling expectoration, right-sided chest pain since 2 weeks. The patient is a chronic alcoholic with poor oral hygienic habits. What do you think is the finding in this chest X-ray? There is a large, we can see a large cavity with air fluid level in between, and this is an X-ray of a lung abscess. The lung abscess may be single or multiple cavities, and they frequently contain air fluid levels with a predisposition for upper zones. In general, abscesses are round in shape and appear similar in both frontal and lateral projections. Additionally, all margins are equally well seen, although adjacent consolidation may make the assessment difficult at times.
पर इसमें बताइए जैसे हाइलर रीजन है इसमें वेसल्स कौन सी है और लिम्फ नोड कौन सी
तो जैसे इसमें सर जैसे जो ऊपर आ रहा है सर जो राइट साइड पे हम देखते हैं
कर्सर चलाओ
हाँ एक बार हम लोग राइट साइड पे ऊपर एक जो एक वो वेसल है ना थोड़ा नीचे आ जाओ आप ये देखो जब तक आ रही है सर हाइलर के पेरिफेरी तक आ रही है 3 vessels हैं sir.
और जो ऊपर है वो रोड है,
नहीं sir, सारी vessels हैं.
सारी vessels. So they are all, this is what confusion made me. Okay.
The next case is of a 28-year-old female, a known case of bronchial asthma diagnosed 6 years ago, who presented with complaints of worsening shortness of breath for 3 weeks in spite of treatment, wheezing, productive coughs in 3 weeks. CBC had eosinophilia more than 500 and raised total IgE more than 1000. Here we can see this X-ray showing multiple linear soft tissue opacities suggestive of finger and glove sign, and this X-ray is of ABPA. ABPA also has other significant findings on a chest X-ray not visible on this chest X-ray, such as allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis.
Same as the eosinophil pneumonia or different? Because eosinophil count was high.
Bronchus or bronchial dilatation, which gets filled with the mucus, so that's why it is liver respiratory. Eosinophilic pneumonia will be more of a consolidation.
The common findings of ABPA are fleeting or transient opacities that are migratory pulmonary infiltrates that change in location over time, finger and glove sign which represents mucus-filled dilated bronchi often seen in the upper lobe. There is central bronchiectasis, atelectasis due to airway obstruction due to mucus infection. There can also be perihilar or lobar opacities due to allergic inflammation and mucus plugging. To invite upon stage Dr. Jay.
So whenever we see a pathology on a chest radiograph, we'll have to first of all decide whether it is pulmonary or mediastinal. There are various signs to decide upon it. Then if it is pulmonary, whether it is alveolar or interstitial. If interstitial, we'll have to go for HRCT. And if mediastinal or a suspected mass lesion, we'll have to go for CCT chest. There are very clear indications for HRCT chest and CCT chest. We don't need a contrast in all the scans. Then we'll have to see for associated findings like pleural effusion of lymph nodes and bony erosion. So we come to the end of our presentation on a chest radiograph. I wish all of you a happy reporting. Thank you.